The Miriam Rice murder is hard to forget.
The young mother was killed nearly 3 decades ago in South Bend's Riverside district.
Over the years, there have been suspects, but not enough evidence to bring charges.
News Center 16's Kim Shine explores the cold case of Miriam Rice and tells us why authorities could now be closer to solving it. Kim?
Well, it happened back in 1988. Miriam was in her 20s. She was a married mother of a young son who was pregnant with her second child. She went to take her dog for a walk and never returned. And this case shook Michiana. But detectives within the St. Joseph County Metro Homicide Unit are now hoping new leads and DNA could change that.
It's a cowardly, senseless act.
The kidnapping and murder of a pregnant woman right along the St. Joseph River.
She's walking for her health and the health of her baby. And because of your actions, whoever you are, you decided that it was so important, so necessary to kidnap this lady and kill him.
It's late on June 24th, 1988, a Friday. Around 11:30 that night, 28-year-old Miriam Rice leaves her Park Avenue home for a walk with her dog. It's the last time anyone would see her alive, and 2 of her neighbors from back then say murder was the last thing anyone expected.
Years ago, this was a safe neighborhood. You could go out at night and
leave your doors unlocked.
Leave your doors unlocked. I'd sit on the front porch. People would come by walking dogs and, say hi.
Sue and Thomas Fezzi moved to the Riverside District in 1974. Years later, they met Miriam and her son.
She was just very warm, welcoming, talked about us getting together for coffee or tea.
But that meeting never happened. Miriam was walking here along Riverside Drive that night, and when she didn't come back, her husband called police. The next day, her dog was found hiding under a car, just about a 6-minute walk from her house.
A massive search began, a search that lasted 4 days.
WNDU has covered this case from the beginning.
Miriam Rice's family began a yellow ribbon campaign. Flyers with her photograph were circulated. Reward money totaling thousands of dollars was offered for leads.
But 5 days after she disappeared, the search came to a devastating end.
Mrs. Rice's body was found by a family member just north of Pinhook Park. The coroner ruled she died of a skull fracture.
Crime Stoppers features her case many times. Law enforcement flooded with tips, but none that lead to her killer. The crime puts her neighbors on edge.
I remember shocked that it had happened to someone we knew, someone we had talked to recently.
Years go by, and in 1994, a special crimes unit reopens the case. Investigators try, but end up not far from where they started. So the case grows cold until roughly 2 decades later, in the hot summer of 2017.
The cold case squad was looking at some of these things in June of last year, and that's when we found some of the information that nobody had really seen before.
County Metro Homicide Detective Michael Norby says those leads were like unraveling a sweater.
Pull one thread and things have just kind of started to fall into place.
Technology has advanced tremendously since Miriam's murder and is giving new ways to process clues. The team has sent DNA material downstate for testing.
So when we relook at evidence that has been gathered over years in the Miriam Rice case, there's evidence that was there that obviously back in 1988 people didn't look at and say this might be DNA related, there might be DNA here, or they had an idea that there might be, but there was no way of obtaining it, abstracting it, processing it, and verifying it.
And sometimes time convinces people to talk. Homicide Commander Tim Corbett says his team has also traveled to several states in the last few months to follow leads.
It's talking to people, getting out and doing your job, being professional about it, being honest about it, but you have to get out there. People just don't come to us. We have to go out and create situations.
For the Cold Case Squad, their work on this case is like solving a puzzle, one they believe they're close to finishing.
You don't need the entire puzzle completely put together to be able to see a picture.
And even without having all the pieces, the Miriam Rice murder case is back open, and that gives hope.
Now, authorities cleared Miriam's then-husband, Jeff, of any wrongdoing in this case. Efforts to reach him were made through Metro Homicide, but we were told that he did not want to participate in our story. Now, though the Rice murder case is back open, we must remember that no one has ever been charged, but perhaps you know something that could help investigators. If you do, contact the St. Joseph County Metro Homicide Cold Case Squad at 574-235-5009, or you can remain anonymous and call Crime Stoppers at 574-288-7867. They also have a toll-free 800 number that you can dial.